The OnePlus 11 5G is finally available for us to pick up. And what I would probably say is, don't let the missing Pro word out of this title confuse you. This is still a flagship. This is still featuring the latest processor from Qualcomm, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, some of the great experiences on the camera with the improvements over with Hasselblad, and of course some of the great optics that we have on the OnePlus line of devices. A large battery, really fast charging, and a lot of things to really enjoy and of course appreciate about the OnePlus line in 2023. This is TK. I'm going to share with you guys my review of the brand new OnePlus 11 5G. Let's check it out. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so they are always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So this is the OnePlus 11 and the OnePlus Buds Pro 2. I'm going to have a separate video entirely done specifically for this, although I'm going to show some of the features in here specifically as they pertain to the OnePlus 11 because there are some unique features that only work on OnePlus devices. I do have the OnePlus Buds Pro 2 in green. This is the Arbor green here, and it's on the OnePlus 11. They're calling this the Eternal green. There's two different colors of both of these. There's a Titan black and a black color as well on the buds themselves. Functionality is pretty much the same. It's more so about aesthetics, and I'm really happy that I was able to actually match both colors on these devices. Now, on the OnePlus 11, we get the charger in the box. Now, this charger is going to be an 80-watt charger in the US, and it's going to be a 100-watt charger internationally. So just be aware that this is something to do with the voltage and the way our charging system here is done. So for the most part, if you're using this in the US, you're going to get 80-watt charging, pretty much the exact same as we got with the OnePlus 10 Pro last year. Now, they also include the charging cable. This is going to be a USB Type-A, USB Type-C. As you notice, the charging brick here is a USB-A charger, not a USB-C charger as we used to have before. Still provides us the fastest charging that we can in the market, and overall going to be definitely a great pair with your OnePlus 11. Now, before we go too far, I do want to cover the specifications on the back of this device. Overall, we have a 5,000 milliampere battery. We have as I mentioned to you guys, the charging up to 80 watts in the US, 100 watts internationally. The camera stack on the back is very much a familiar experience, which we've seen before. We have a 50 megapixel camera experience here on the main sensor here on the back. That's going to be the IMX890 with OIS and EIS with at f1.8 stop here on this. Now, as far as the ultra-wide lens that we have here is a 48 megapixel camera, as that's the IMX581, and that's going to be at 115 field of view, which is pretty decent at f2.2. The last camera is a telephoto portrait lens, the IMX709 at f2.0, and it's going to be a 32 megapixel camera. We don't have wireless charging here. The wired charging is going to be the primary experience that we have in here. On the left side, what we get is the alert slider. It's back, and it's, of course, as OnePlus mentioned with the OnePlus 10T, even though the 10T series didn't have it, this one is coming back. A power button on the side. On the top, we have basically one of the microphones, and of course, on the right side, we have the volume rocker that's present. Now, everything is matching in color, so you'll notice that the green actually matches all the way on the bezels. On the bottom, we have a dual SIM tray supporting 5G, one of the microphones, USB-C for charging. Of course, the bottom firing speaker married with the top speaker to give us stereo speakers. Now, we do have Dolby Atmos as far as the audio performance enhancements, as well as Dolby Vision for the display. Now, speaking of the display, in-display fingerprint sensor, 6.7 inch, and of course LTPO technology display, and we have 120 Hz refresh rate display. So very similar to what we've seen before. The technology is kind of continuing year over year. And as I mentioned to you guys, the overall experience that we get in here, if we go into the settings tab, jump all the way down, we have Oxygen OS, and I'll go ahead and about. Now, the device is OnePlus 11 5G. It is the global edition. 256 gigs of internal storage is what I have here. There's going to be an 8, 128, and of course, 16 to 56. So depending on the market and what you're looking for. Everything is going to be powered with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 mobile platform, 5,000 milliampere battery, and I mentioned to you guys, 16 megapixel camera is going to be the front-facing sensor, and it has 50, 48, and 32 on the main sensors in the back. It's running Oxygen OS 13, of course, on top of Android 13. Now, some of the biggest thing that I'll probably say as far as configuration and what we're getting here is, of course, similarity to what we've seen before. We have all the same configurations there. Google Feed on the left, the ability of having an app drawer if you'd like to configure it, set it up, and bring it down. Some of the optimizations that we've seen with Color OS. If I bring this up to that point and just say basically floating window, we have access to the floating window experience, is what we've seen from ColorOS come over here. And of course, I'm able to close it, pin it, or even just make it into a floating window, especially if you need to keep something consistently running there. Notification toggle, let's go ahead and bring this out. Notification toggle, pretty much standard customizations as far as the display. You can go into the settings tab, what we've seen in the past, log into your OnePlus account. Of course, we have emoji support in here, network, Bluetooth, connectivity, sharing, wallpapers and styles. Sorry, I'll jump back one more. And of course, the ability of customizing the colors, and of course, edge lighting, fingerprint animation, and of course, customizing shortcuts if you'd like. We still have the ability of customizing the fingerprint sensor with shortcuts, so if you'd like to be able to run some shortcuts on here, it's going to work perfectly fine. And of course, the ability of basically press and hold and be able to launching the Google Assistant. And of course, last but not least is, because this is the international variant, which is different, you can actually double press on the power button to launch the camera and of course turn on some of the other optimizations in there. Now, before we get into that experience, I do want to share with you guys real quick. Obviously, we want to know how does the performance on this device, how does this run, and how does this actually stack up compared to some of the other options on the market. So let's go ahead and jump into Geekbench. Single score is 1466 and multi-score is going to be 4816, and this is going to be running with their performance mode turned on. So you need to jump into the battery settings, turn that on to be able to get the best experience. Although, if you run into the gaming mode, it should automatically turn this on for you and give you that experience out of the box. Now, when it comes to connectivity, we are able to pick up 5G. Now, I've been using it on T-Mobile here, and of course, you could definitely see the different experiences, up to 305 megabits down and a 56 up. Depending on where you are, I mean, this was actually literally the fastest I was able to get. It's 808 down with 151 up. Now, I think I was pretty close to the actual tower. As you can see here, I've had the device since at least January 13th. So the experience that I'm sharing with you guys is from using it over multiple weeks. Now, of course, beautiful display. We have a screen protector that's pre-applied, and I'm hopefully can show that to you guys right there. I unfortunately did actually kind of nick it at the side there, but it does come with a screen protector pre-applied in here, which is something that we typically don't see with at least the variants that we used to see in the US. Dual SIM, locks, everything kind of works the exact same way as you imagined before. And of course, we have the ability of turning on and configuring the slider here and customizing all the different experiences. Now, jumping into the cameras, as I mentioned to you guys, overall, the experience here is very similar to what we've seen in the past. We have Hasselblad collaboration here to be able to get some of the best experiences. So Pro mode, you'll notice this still has the Hasselblad option in there. Panoramic, movie, slow motion. We don't have 4K 120 frames per second, but we're still able to jump into 480 frames per second. I think it's at 1080p resolution. Time-lapse, long exposure, dual view, tilt shift, and of course, X-Pan mode, because again, we still have that experience running with Hasselblad. Under the photo, we're able to jump between the ultra-wide and the telephoto. Portrait lens is pretty much dedicated to that telephoto lens that we talked about to be able to get some of those. And of course, we have video and night mode. Under video, 8K 24 is going to be the best resolution. 4K 60 is going to be the best at the 4K level. You'll notice it's 60. We don't have 120 on this one. And of course, on the front-facing camera, 1080p is going to be the maximum, and we're able to toggle between 720 and 1080p at 30 frames per second. But let's not waste too much time. Let me give you guys a quick sample of the audio and video from the OnePlus 11 cameras on the front and on the back. Okay, we're starting off with the front-facing video on the OnePlus 11. This is going to be capped at 1080p resolution, pretty standard to what we've seen in the past, but we are using the 16 megapixel sensor on this. Overall, this is going to be a decent experience. I feel like the cameras on the back obviously are going to be the best experience, since we can go to 4K 60, 8K 24. So just keep in mind that overall performance is going to be pretty decent on the front-facing experience. And of course, if you're using the Buds Pro 2, this is definitely going to get it even better. But let's go ahead and switch over to the main sensor on the back to see how does that 4K 60 frames per second look on the brand new 11. Switching it over to the main sensor on the back, this should be a pretty good example of the audio and video from the main sensor, the main 50 megapixel camera sensor on the OnePlus 11. Now this can go all the way up to 8K 24, 4K 60, 4K 30, no 120 on this one, and of course we can do 1080p and 720p, slow motion, and all the different options. The biggest benefit, of course, is that now we have the ability of getting more flexible content creation options here as opposed to what we get on the front. 1080p is the maximum there. Here we can go all the way up to 8K, and I hope you guys like the video and the audio sample on the brand new OnePlus 11. Now, as you saw there, the audio experience is actually pretty decent comparing what we're able to get with the cameras on this. Again, 4K 60 is going to be the best resolution. I feel like you should always be living in that camera if you're comfortable. Now, one thing that does happen here with the green color that we don't get with the black color that they have offered, the Titan Black, is that we actually have a little bit more of a reflective material, which helps us see where we are. So if you're not used to framing yourself with the main camera on the back, this will definitely help you. I want to talk a little bit about the audio here before we jump into the speaker test, as we typically do. The OnePlus Buds 2 do work very uniquely here, because if I open them up, it's automatically going to pair back to the last device I paired. So we should be able to get a notification telling us that they're connected. And then you'll notice right there, we're able to see not only the percentage on the case itself, but also on each bud. And we can actually jump into it directly and configure. Now, the best way to do that is to go into the settings, click the Bluetooth button, and then go into more. And it's going to give us access directly into the configuration. We do have the ability of turning on LHDC, which is only supported on OnePlus devices, so be aware of that. Obviously running the latest ColorOS software. Phone calls, contact, and everything like that. Last but not least, the ability of customizing the noise cancellation. It's not active now because the buds are not in my ear. We have personalized noise cancellation that we're able to turn on, and that runs a profile that you need to put them, but you can see it's asking me to put them on. High-res audio mode turns on the LHDC, and that's going to give us the ability of going to 24-bit 48 kilohertz as far as the audio performance, as opposed to what we get with SPC and AAC, which is 44 kilohertz. Golden Sound spatial audio is also supported in here, and the ability of turning on either fixed mode or head tracking, and this is considered more of the what we get with Google's type of spatial audio experiences. Last but not least, we have Zen mode, and of course earbud controls to be able to change the configuration on both the right and on the left. Camera related settings, you'll be able to actually take pictures using the buds by initiating it, and dual connection, which I really like. You can actually connect them simultaneously to two different devices. So the Pixel 7 is the other one, and the OnePlus 11 is the primary device. So this is kind of like just giving you a quick overview of how does the OnePlus 11 work with the OnePlus Buds Pro 2. And of course, it's just going to be definitely one of the best experiences running on a OnePlus device. Now it's that time to listen to our favorite song on the channel. It's Alex Crindo Jumbo by NCS Release, a non-copyrighted song. I have the volume set to 100%, and of course, you're able to customize the audio experience in the settings. Let's go ahead and play the song.
Jack it up.
As you heard there, the audio sounds really nice, and of course definitely has a little bit of that bass kicking up with it. Loud and clear. Should be really good for watching content, making phone calls, and of course, or just basically having video chats directly on this device. So definitely not going to be an issue. The best experience, of course, will be with the buds, but in case you want to just use it directly with the phone, it actually sounds pretty decent. One thing I will mention that we do have that nice little sidebar here that you're able to customize with different experiences for screenshots, screen recording, and of course adding different applications that you have. Now, some of the other options that we do get here directly with basically, like ColorOS coming over here with the OxygenOS implementation is 3-finger swipe down that gives you the ability of turning on basically screenshot options, screen recording, and of course we want to talk about games. So if we jump into the Game Center, we have access to all of the games that we have installed. So we have Undead Horde here, Call of Duty Mobile, New State. Basically the Stack Bounce and Free Fire and Wild Rift were in, some of them were actually available as promotions in here. The biggest thing I will probably say is, for me at least here, is that I'm actually able to jump into 90 frames gaming on this device. This is something that we haven't seen before. Let me go ahead and just bring down the volume level here, and let's jump in directly into Call of Duty Mobile. And this gives us the ability of actually configuring different options. First and foremost, if you like to listen to music while you're playing, the music player stays up there. The ability of blocking notification, the ability of actually seeing system status or system information here. If I click this option here, it'll give me the ability of seeing frame rate, CPU, and GPU performance. And of course, one of the other options you're able to basically is configure the CPU processing level. We have the Pro Gamer, Balance, or of course, Power Saving mode. And of course, some of the other options are available there. Very nice, very easy, and of course, it's all swipeable from the top left corner, and you're able to customize the experience. And of course, last but not least, is the ability of going into Ultra mode, which gives us that 90 frames gaming experience. And that's one of the biggest things that we haven't seen in the past. It's the ability of actually pushing gaming experiences on a OnePlus device beyond the 60 frames per second. It's always been managed to a certain point to give us the best, I would say, basically balanced experience. But I feel like this time with the 8 Gen 2 and the optimizations that we have with ColorOS on Android, of course, ColorOS 13 on top of Android 13, we're actually able to push through that, as you're seeing with this quick example that I'm showing you guys with Call of Duty Mobile. Fast frame rate, great optics, and of course, great audio. The OnePlus Buds Pro 2 can also give you the ability of playing games at about 54 millisecond latency. That's ridiculously low, especially when you're playing fast-paced games like this one, and that'll give you the ability of enjoying the content at a much better experience. So overall, what you're getting here is fast experience as far as the actual device, also great audio experience when it comes down to the buds. Now, as you saw there, this device is not going to disappoint when it comes to speed. This is literally the OnePlus bread and butter since the beginning of their existence. They've always had a very light skin, and of course, the system always ran very fast. So you can customize the colors, you can customize the option with even with the fingerprint sensor, pressing and holding for an extended amount of time to launch applications much quicker when you're unlocking your phone. You have face unlock, of course, built in there. The slider did come back, as they said they would bring it back. The colors that we have are definitely very nice. A large display, 120 frames per second refresh rate, very good gaming experience with Dolby as far as the audio processing. The Buds Pro 2 also give us the ability of getting spatial audio. And of course, some of the other options that we get in here is that it's really just trying to focus on that speed and of course, that user experience. Now, when it comes down to the cameras, I'm not gonna say too much. I'm gonna let the pictures speak for themselves. What you're seeing here is obviously from me using it for the last 3 weeks. And of course, over the weekend, we had the opportunity to see some of the Chinese New Year celebration here in Los Angeles. And of course, I'm sharing with you guys some of that content from there. We have a triple camera stack on the back. The 50 megapixel obviously is going to be your primary best breadwinner, I would say, out of all of the cameras, because it not only gives you that 8K capability for video, but it also gives you the ability of getting some of those really good images. The portrait lens that we get in here is also definitely very nice. If you want to use that, it's a portrait telephoto. So you're getting that telephoto experience as well from there. Now, even though we don't have the word Pro, this is technically still a flagship device for OnePlus. Now, of course, one of the main things that you're probably going to be wondering is if you're coming from an earlier generation of a Pro series of a OnePlus, let's say the OnePlus, the 9 Pro or the 10 Pro, you're going to notice a few things missing. Now, the lack of wireless charging, that's something that some people may want to keep, and that's something to keep in mind. It's not here. We also don't have 4K 120 frames per second. That's something that is not also on this device that we had with the 9 Pro and the 10 Pro. The last thing I also noticed that we don't have is the video output option that we don't have on this device. So if these are things that you are concerned or that maybe you are basically needing, I feel like the OnePlus 10 Pro may still be something that you guys can enjoy if you have that device. The 9 Pro, I feel like it's still very much a big champ as well. I'm only referring to basically if you're coming in from like the 8 Pro and earlier, you may notice some of these things in there. But again, I still don't think that this takes away from the flagship experience that OnePlus is trying to give us with the OnePlus 11 5G. It's going to be available in the US market starting the 7th, so that's something that's really nice. And of course, in the configuration, as I mentioned, 8 128, 16 256, so double on that one. Of course, in green and in black, both on the Buds as well as on the, as well as on the OnePlus 11. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of the brand new OnePlus 11? Now, I proved to you guys everything that this device can do. And yes, this actually stands up very well to some of the other options on the market. And of course, at the end of the day, you're going to need to make that decision yourself. I hope that you found this video helpful and that you found something that interests you as well. Thank you very much for the support. Like and subscribe as usual, and I will see you in the next one.